Ooh, there's another top 10 list. Let's take a look, shall we? Stay tuned. Hey, how's it going? I'm Mikey, and this is Comics by the Cover. If you're new to the channel, I first want to say thank you. If you're returning to the channel, thank you. You're super awesome. You're the best. I appreciate you greatly. Again, to those people that are new to the channel, this is a weekly video where I look at the top 10 that ComicTom puts out, and we ask ourselves, are these books that we may be potentially interested in, or these books that we may be passing on? And occasionally some books come up split in that situation. But as it goes, Key Collector puts its top 20 list out every Thursday. Even though this week I only counted 19 books. I might be wrong though. But that aside, puts out the top 20 list every Thursday. And then beginning on Friday on my Instagram, I start polling my followers on there. And I ask people if these are books that they are potentially interested in, or books that they would like to buy, or these books that they are looking to pass on. And like I said, occasionally some of these books do come in split. And of course, if you ever want to participate in those polls, feel free to follow me on Instagram, same name, and you can participate in those polls. Like I said, they do begin on Fridays, they close out on Thursdays, and then Tom puts out his video over the weekends, and then usually about Monday or Tuesday, Wednesday sometime, I'll put out this video as a reaction video. But when we dive deeper into the books, we look to see if there's any opportunities that may be there based on this top 10 list. So with that said, we'll go and get this thing started. Coming in at number 10, we had Invincible number 16. This book pulled a 39.61 pass. The reason why I was on there because Robert Kirkman leaked the appearance of Angstrom Levi, or Angstrom Levy, I can't remember his name. And that caused this book to trim because they're renewed for another 2 to 3 seasons, or another 1 or 2 more seasons, something like that. Anyways, with that said, this shows. I love this so far. I think this has been a great show personally. If you haven't seen it, I do recommend that you do watch it. Of course, this has the potential to have a lot of seasons because it is animated. You don't have to worry about your actors aging, so we got to keep that in mind. But this is one of those great moments where you would actually maybe look at the Key Collector app, look under title search, look under Invincible. A couple of the books that I particularly had a fond interest in are around Bulletproof, so Invincible number 9 and Invincible number 14. I think those are probably two of the books that I'm personally trying to look for when I'm out and about. I do try to avoid buying too many books on eBay if I can. I do try to find them in the wild because they do tend to be significantly cheaper versus buying them through eBay. Coming in at number 9, it was WhalesVille. Number 1. This was another one of those bad idea books. This book pulled a 38.62 pass. We did kind of look at some of the, pretty much every bad idea book has hit the list since whenever they come out. But ENIAC, as we recall, that pulled about a 54.46. That was something people were into buying. Then Tankers kind of tanked in the polls and it had a 33.67 pass. Again, I can't stress enough, if you're looking or considering wanting to buy these books, I know that they are limited in how you can acquire them because not all shops carry them, and you do have to go, if you want to go on their website, you can go up and look to see what shops are near you that carry them. I would recommend that you could see if that shop orders there. You have the option to pre-order on their website to a specific shop, and they're supposed to send that shop your information so they can get your book. But call that shop beforehand and say, hey, if I order this book, is it possible to have it shipped to me? So you could always consider that as an option to you, and see if that shop is willing to do that. I'm sure a lot of shops might be willing to ship items out to you, especially if you choose one of the ones that are on that list, because they tend to be a bit of bigger locations, and they do tend to probably have eBay as well. eBay sells, so they'll probably sell it to you if you add it onto your list. But with that said, there are a couple books coming out in July. The first one was lot number 1. This is a book about a legendary filmmaker who does this production on this horror set back in 1970, and then he wants to get it as real as possible, so he hires these occultists to do the satanic ritual on live camera. And then everything gets shut down, and then in the present day, someone comes back to try to revive this studio, and it seems like a horror book. And this is the one, I'll be honest, this is the one book of theirs so far that I'm super interested in. The other one is Sleigh Bells number 1, that also comes up in July 2021. It's kind of like a dark Christmas where there's a dawn in the early morning. They're on this hunting trip, and they accidentally kill a red-nosed reindeer, and of course they should have known better. They shouldn't have tried to cover it up because Santa knows that they've been naughty, and now, like so many fragile Christmas ornaments violently shaken, the Yuletide piece of the quaint Midwestern farming hamlet will forever be shattered as old Saint Nick comes to town to reap the sweetest gift of all, and that being vengeance. So those are a couple books that you may want to consider that are coming out. Like I said, go onto their website, see what shops are near you, call those shops, say, hey, I want to pre-order this Bad Idea book. If I pre-order it, is it possible to have it shipped to me? Worst case to say is no, and you just try a different shop. Eventually someone will say yes, so bear that in mind. Coming in at number 8 was WYND, or WYND. I'll be honest, I never knew it was pronounced by the acronym, so I just always call this WYND number 1. This book pulled a 4357 pass. This started trending because of some production rumors, if I recall. I haven't had the chance to read this book. I did pick it up because, like I said, I'm typically a fan of Tiny Ian's work, so I think I'll pick it up. And if you are something interested in there, you may just want to look at the B cover. That is a cheaper option I've noticed online. And then the one cover that I picked up personally was the WYND number 1 Peach Mocha variant, because of course she's a hot artist, and that may be a book of interest as this book spikes, as production potentially develops. Coming in at number 7 was Batman 108. This is the ratio 1/50 art term variant. I think it was foil, if I recall, as well. There's not a lot to say about this. We've been talking about this book for a couple months now, so you should have picked up a version of this book, I would say. I'll be honest, one of the things that I personally always have in my pull list are Amazing Spider-Man and Batman. And even though I don't really read Amazing Spider-Man, I keep it in there because historically these are two of the biggest IPs that are around, and there's usually always at least one hot issue a year that pretty much covers the run when you sell that one book for that year. Plus, these are books that are easy to turn around because a lot of people are collecting these books. So, my personal recommendation is you should always have Amazing Spider-Man and Batman in your pool, even if you don't read them, because they'll always have a lot of first appearances and a lot of potential value to them. Coming in at number 6 was Star Wars Kanan, The Last Padawan. This book pulled a 70/30. I've seen a lot of people talking about this book recently online on YouTube, so that's probably why it's been trending. Again, we know that Kanan, the Padawan number 6, that one's the one that has the full appearances of being Ren and Ezra Bridger. That book previously pulled at 75/25, so buy as well. Some other consideration you may want to do is recently came out with Star Wars War of the Bounty Hunter number 1, so that might be a book you want to look out for. And then I think in July, Jabba the Hutt number 1 comes out, if I recall, as well. Coming in at number 5 was Lady Killer number 1. This book pulled a 3268 pass. Had some Netflix development casting beginning on this. Personally, really interested in this book. I just love the cover. I think it's just such a gorgeous cover personally. And this is just one of those weird surprise books that comes out of nowhere and it's going to go to the screen. I personally, like I said, I'm interested in this book, but I think if I wait it out, it'll probably drop in price. It's one of those books I don't particularly think will hold a lot of long-term value and collectability. But I think it's a gorgeous cover, so that's the only reason I want it. Alrighty, coming in at number 4 was Conan the Barbarian 23, first appearance of Red Sonja. As you can see, this book pulled a 63/37 buy, so this is a book that people are interested in. The casting began for this development. I'm sorry, I misspelled Barbarian there. Mind misspelling. You can never go wrong with Bronze Age books. I think Bronze Age first appearances are super hot right now. You'll probably continue to see that trend throughout the rest of the year, as these are some of the more obtainable keys. And now you're starting to see the early Copper Age books really gain interest as well. So start looking for some of those key first appearances in the early Copper if you've been priced out of the Bronze Age, because that would obviously be time-wise next in sequence. This book did previously pull back in March. It pulled a 76/24, so it does have some loss of interest, but it still is a buy. And then, of course, Conan Barbarian number 24 also trended back in March, and that book pulled a 53/47 buy. This property was bought out by Dynamite, so Marvel no longer owns it. So some other books you may want to consider is Red Sonja number 1, because we know those first solo series have always been hot. But also the Red Sonja number 1 Dynamite, I would say. That book could be a book of interest for people who are collecting into this version of Red Sonja, because it'll probably be closer tied to the Dynamite stuff. I do know she had a resurrection in issue number 35, if I recall. And so they killed off the Marvel Legacy, brought her back in issue number 35, and then I think they wound up going back to some of the Marvel history stuff anyways. I might be wrong. I never read Red Sonja. That was just my quick synopsis that I read about her. Coming in at number 3 was Mighty Avengers number 1. This book pulled a 67.33. Of course, as Monica becomes Spectrum in this book, so that book is causing it to trend. You're starting to see this pretty often where people are really buying into some of these name changes or costume changes. So be aware of those. There's a lot of them that are out there. I mean, even if you think about the Thunderbolts, those are just name changes and costume changes, but those are all past characters that were reformed into the Thunderbolts. But as we know, that's a hot book. But you're starting to see that a lot, I would say. So keep looking out for those as you come into them. It could be a pivotal moment in the character's development, and people seem to have a large interest in this. This book did previously pull as a 52.48 buy, so it's been gaining some interest here. It was, of course, tied to the trailer releases of the Marvels, which may cause a few other books to trend as well, as the details kind of shake out a little bit. You may, of course, see the Avengers Unplugged number 5 trend. This was for the name Photon, which took on the name Photon. Out of nowhere, you may see New Thunderbolts number 9. This is when she became Pulsar. It's number 9, Legacy 90, if I recall. And then 2 books which previously pulled that you may see on here as well come back around. And these books pulled a few months ago, but Marvel Superheroes number 12 for the first appearance of Captain Marvel. That book was trending a little while back, as well as the Blue Marvel number 1 first appearance of Blue Marvel, Adam Brashear. That book was trending as well a couple months back, so those books may get hot again in the next few months as some of the details shake out. Personally, a book that I think is super cheap, super affordable that you could probably find, and I highly recommend that this is probably a character that you'd want to buy into, and that's Marvel Boy number 1. I've stated this before. This is the first appearance of Novar. Again, it's an easy buy-in. I think it usually goes for around less than $20 online, sometimes even less than $10. But Novar has ties to the Kree. He's going to have ties to the Young Avengers and Hawkeye, Kate Bishop. So that's a good character, in my opinion, to buy in early if you are looking for some of these Young Avengers stragglers that may potentially join the team. Next up was number 2 was Green Lantern number 59. This book pulled a 63.37 buy. This was, of course, the first appearance of Guy Gardner. Again, can't go wrong with these older books. You know, I bought into Guy Gardner last year after Jon Stewart got super hot. I was like, okay, who's the next Lantern that I know? And that was Guy Gardner. So I bought this book for like $130 a while back, quite a while back, and now, of course, it's going for significantly more. Also trending this week was Green Lantern number 116. That's where Guy Gardner stands in for Hal Jordan. So that book pulled a 45.55 pass. So that, again, this is one of those pivotal moments in the characters that we were talking about. So that may be why it trended as well. Also previously pulled, which is kind of on a little bit down dip right now, is Green Lantern number 25. That book previously pulled a 45.55 pass. But this was the first appearance of multiple characters as well as multiple core. So the Blue Lantern core, if I recall, and the Orange Lantern core. There was a whole lot of colors that appeared in here. You can see them right there. Again, remember, if you are shopping on eBay, you can always save your search results by hitting the little heart on there. So that's what I tend to do when I'm looking for this book or any books online. As the prices dip, like to save it. And this is one book that I started recently. Because I missed it on the first time and I forgot about it, and then and that's something that came back in my mind. So again, as the prices dip and I see one that I like in price, then I will buy it if I don't find it in the stores. You know, of course, the Green Lantern show is scheduled to come out. We got our first casting there for Guy Gardner, so that, of course, got me thinking, okay, well, where do we want to go now? And this is a great moment for a cover price breakdown. We won't talk about Hal Jordan. We won't talk about Jon Stewart. We won't talk about Guy Gardner because those prices are huge. But let's talk about some of the ones that I found interest in. The first one I pulled up was Katma, and I may really mess up these names, but Katma Tui. This, of course, is the love interest for Jon Stewart. You know, she's a very recognizable character. I don't really read a lot of Green Lantern, but I see her on a lot of covers. She made her first appearance in Green Lantern number 30, Silver Age book there, so you can't go wrong there. Of course, Kyle Rayner. I'm familiar with him from the 90s. He had first appeared in Green Lantern number 48. This is how he's doing. And then Simon Baz, you know, his first appearance was in this Free Comic Book Day, the New 52-1. This book has a lot of store stamp variants. Try to avoid any that have a physical stamp on it, because looking online, the ones that have the physical stamp on it are the ones that will get dinged on grading. So try to get ones either with the printed on there or none if possible. Then of course we had Jessica Cruz. I'm not going to talk about her appearance of her hand in number 20, and then 20, or no, it was the next one. 30 was her cameo, if I recall. She's like, ah. And then 31 is when she makes her full appearance, and technically I think that's her on the cover as well. So she might be one that of high interest. Next up was Joe Moulin, who I'm really enjoying the Far Sector, so I do read that Green Lantern title. I do like her as a character as well. Next up I would say is Tomar 2. This is the son of Tomar Ray, of course, because Tomar Ray appeared in a Green Lantern number 6, if I recall. And this could be a good option for you. And he appears in Green Lantern number 5. This is his son, so he might be a character of interest that's cheap for you. Kilowog, I know a lot of people are talking about him recently, so he appears in Green Lantern number 201, so he's on the uptrend right now. Jade is another character that I do recognize. She made her first appearance in All-Star Squadron number 25. And then some of the characters that I think are more spec-worthy, I think, that maybe kind of like the sleeper books that people don't think about, is Sodam Yat. He made his first appearance in Green Lantern Corps Annual number 2. If you're not familiar with this book, this is the book that, if I recall, inspired the Blackest Night storyline, or a couple Green Lantern storylines later in the line, as he was the prophesized individual from this issue, if I recall. So that may be a book that sneaks up on you. And then, of course, he's often found with Aricia Robb. And she made her first appearance in Green Lantern Corps number 1, so she may be a character of interest. Some random character that I think they may show up and people are like, would be Nort. He made his first appearance in Justice League International number 10. And then some of the badder guys, I like that Sinestro Green Lantern number 7. Of course, that's a bit pricey of a book. But, Carol Ferris, oddly enough, as Star Sapphire in Green Lantern number 16, is still kind of quite affordable. And she may take the trend of Guy Gardner, where he's in this $200 to $300 range, and then next thing you know, boom, he's somewhere up in the $1,000 range. And then of course a character that I think you also may want to consider is Sornek Natu. I'm kind of maybe messing up these names, but of course she's the daughter of Sinestro, so she may have some ties to the show in the long term or latter seasons as the show develops. But again, you can pick her up fairly cheap, or you can probably find her in a back bin near you. So that is Green Lantern Recharge number 1. So of these books, after really kind of looking at them, my personal pick would be definitely Kamatui. I think that's a really cheap Silver Age book with the close ties to John Stewart. It just makes a logical sense for me. And then my backup book is the Green Lantern Corps Annual number 2 for Saddam Yat. I think that's going to be my Lucci pick of the week. Finally, coming in at number 1, we had Sweet Tooth number 1. This book pulled a 54.46 buy. This book was the Netflix trailer had dropped, so of course the book went crazy. Also trending this week was House of Secrets number 16, because it had a Sweet Tooth preview in the back of the book. I did find actually 2 copies of that in a dollar bin. So check your dollar bins. You'd be surprised at things you find in there. You really just have to kind of search those back bins often. You'll find some of the hottest books that you can potentially imagine. Recently I found the Ultimates number 1 second print for the first print's of Lifebringer in a back bin for $3. So check those back bins. Remember, they restock comics often, so even though you checked it one time and it wasn't there, it may be there the next time you check. So Sweet Tooth is one of those books that you may definitely find in a dollar bin, surprisingly. Of course, this is a great time to visit some of other Jeff Lemire's work. As I think all these were optioned before, but Descender number 1 may be a book of interest for you. It's been on the lull, the dip right now, as well as Black Hammer number 1. This was a super popular book. A lot of people love this book, so that's a book that you may want to look into. That's been on the dip right now as well as Gideon Falls. This is a book that was hot when it first came out, and that may be a book of interest for you as well. So with that said, as always, that's the list. Those are my thoughts. Those are my suggestions and considerations. With that said, as always, bye!